大家好，我是台中科大语言中心苏代师, and this is another English story time. Thanks for joining me again today, everybody. Welcome back. Today's story is The Prince and the Pauper. In this story, we learn about a very poor boy, a pauper, who trades places in life with the prince, who is very rich and wealthy and has many luxuries in his life. And we hear about how that is for both of them. Okay, before we get started, let's listen to some vocabulary. You can please repeat after me if you would like, and you can read the Chinese on the screen there. Okay, so here's our vocabulary. Pauper. Empty-handed. Shelter. Surround. Wealth. Luxury. Palace. Wander. Guard. Beggar. Exchange. Scold. Recognize. Claim. Behavior. Crown. Adventure. Escape. Harsh. Nobleman. Royalty. Convince. Produce. Seal. Knighthood. Journey. Ward. Poverty. Reign. Okay. Well, again, the name of our story is The Prince and the Pauper. And let's have a listen, shall we? A long time ago, two boys were born on the same day into very different families. Tom Canty grew up unwanted and unloved in one of London's poorest neighborhoods. His cruel father forced him to beg on the streets. If Tom returned home empty-handed, he was beaten. Sometimes Tom would go to Father Andrew for shelter. Father Andrew told Tom stories about kings and queens. He also taught him about morals and how to read. Unlike Tom's birth, the birth of the second boy was greeted with great joy. His name was Edward Tudor. He was the son of Henry VIII and the future King of England. Edward grew up surrounded by wealth and luxury, but the young prince wanted to see the world outside the palace. One day, while wandering the city, Tom spotted the young prince through a fence. The prince was playing on the palace grounds. A guard tried to drag Tom away, but Edward noticed the young beggar and invited him in to the palace to play. Inside the palace, the two boys exchanged clothes. They looked alike, and each wanted to feel what it was like to be the other. When the prince noticed that Tom's hand was hurt, he rushed outside to scold the guard who had hurt him. The guard did not recognize Edward because the prince was wearing Tom's clothes. Soon a crowd gathered and laughed at Edward for claiming to be the prince. Back in the palace, Tom was mistaken for the prince. His strange behavior and claims that he was actually Tom Canty caused everyone to think the prince had gone mad. Several weeks after the real prince disappeared, Tom began to settle into palace life. When Henry VIII suddenly died, Tom was told he would be crowned king. The real prince had been having adventures of his own outside the palace. While trying to escape Tom's evil father, Edward began to learn about the harsh and unjust conditions of the country's poor. At times, a kind nobleman named Miles Hendon helped Edward. Later, Edward and Miles Hendon returned to London for the crowning of the new king. During his brief time as royalty, Tom had learned much about how to be king. However, he began to forget some of the moral lessons he had learned when he was poor. When he had passed his real mother on the way to the crowning, he denied knowing her. He was struck with terrible guilt. Edward burst into the ceremony just in time to stop the crowning. Tom quickly confirmed that Edward was the true prince. Still, not everyone was convinced. Edward then produced the royal seal proving his claim. Edward awarded Miles Hendon with a knighthood for helping him on his journey. Tom was made king's ward. Though Tom did not wish to return to poverty, he had learned to appreciate a life free of responsibilities. For his part, Edward now saw how unfair many English laws were to his people. He spent the rest of his reign ruling justly. It often takes seeing the world through someone else's eyes to get the complete picture. Okay, a great moral to that story. It often takes seeing the world through someone else's eyes to get the complete picture. Something I think we should all remember when we get sort of lost in our daily lives is to remember to try to appreciate and understand how things are through the eyes of others, or appreciate things from another person's perspective. An important lesson, I feel. Okay, I've got a few reading comprehension questions for you here. Let's see what you can remember from the story. So here are our questions. Number 1, how do the two children in the story differ? A, they look very different. B, one is rich and one is poor. C, they live in different countries. Or D, one has a father and the other doesn't. Okay, again, the question is, how do the two children in the story differ? Please think carefully. Okay, I'm sure you got the answer here. They differ in the fact that one is rich and one is poor. This is how the two children in the story differ. Okay, here's our second question, number 2. Why doesn't the guard believe that Edward is the prince? One more time. Why doesn't the guard believe that Edward is the prince? A, Edward is speaking strangely. B, a prince would not care about a beggar. C, the guard is new to the job. Or D, the prince is wearing poor clothing. Okay, think about our answer, please. If you chose D, you are correct. The prince is wearing poor clothing. Okay, so after Edward and Tom had changed clothes, and Edward ran out to scold the guard did not recognize him, did not believe that he was the prince because he was wearing the clothes of Tom Canty, the poor boy. Okay, number 3 is our next question. Which is likely something that Edward learns on his adventures? Okay, one more time. Which is likely something that Edward learns on his adventures? A, that many people in the kingdom have a hard life. B, how to ride a horse and make money. C, that his palace is filled with luxury and beautiful things. Or D, how to improve the lives of his noblemen. Okay, please think carefully. Again, the question is, which is likely something that Edward learns on his adventures? Okay, if you chose A, you are correct. Very good. A, our answer is that many people in the kingdom have a hard life. This is something that Edward probably or likely learned on his adventures. Okay, guys, I'm sure you're doing great so far. Here's number 4. Please listen. Which of the following is not something that Tom appreciates about being royalty? Is it A, the fine food, B, the responsibilities, C, his power as a prince, or D, his beautiful surroundings? Okay, again, the question is, which of these things is something that Tom probably doesn't appreciate about being royalty. All right, so if you chose the answer B, his responsibilities, the responsibilities, rather, of the job, you are absolutely correct. Very good. Okay, so again, that was our story for today, The Prince and the Pauper. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for listening. And do remember the moral of our story today, the moral lesson of our story, which is to always try and to see things from the point of view of others. Sometimes we may not understand their situation and what it is like to be in their life and see the world through their eyes. So please do be understanding of others and what their life might be like. Okay. It's a good lesson, I think. All right, well, thank you again for coming. And until next time, 再见.